Luke Belmar, a crypto trading biohacking millionaire, presents himself as a rags to riches story, a young man with humble beginnings, rising from a small village in Argentina to become a global success. With just $200 in his pocket, he claims to have traveled to America at the age of 16, taking on odd jobs and eventually building a business empire in e-commerce and crypto. This narrative has captured the imagination of thousands, drawing them into his private network, Capital Club, a supposed haven for ambitious, like-minded individuals seeking wealth and success. What an inspiring story, right? Well, think again. Behind this carefully curated image lies a web of deception, secrets, and questionable actions. It starts with his name Luke Belmar, or should we say Emanuel Ura Ti. Though using an alias isn't inherently wrong, there's an undeniable attempt to bury his real identity, an identity that has been obscured and erased from public view. Even a past interview he gave after witnessing a tragic terrorist attack in Berlin was mysteriously wiped clean of his real name, seemingly at Luke's request. The question is, why go through such lengths to hide it? Luke's story of coming to America at 16 alone doesn't quite add up either. In reality, he had close family members already residing in the United States. The carefully orchestrated story of hardship appears to be more of a fabricated myth, designed to give him a heroic zero-to-hero aura. Even more curious is his brother Nate, whose failed acting and modeling career was similarly scrubbed from the internet, another puzzle piece conveniently removed from the public eye. The brothers' obsession with secrecy even led to attempts to intimidate an interviewer who refused to delete a video about Nate, an incident that spiraled into allegations of harassment and threats. Luke's private community, Capital Club, founded in 2019, appears to be a beacon of opportunity at first glance. Originally priced at $15,000 to join, it's now accessible for a mere $369 a year. But as it turns out, this club may have far more in common with a multi-level marketing scheme than a true entrepreneurial network. The inclusion of an ambassador program akin to a classic pyramid scheme echoes the tactics of other controversial figures like Andrew Tate. While the club officially claims members must be over 18, there is little evidence of real verification, raising concerns about the involvement of young, impressionable people. For those who joined Capital Club hoping for valuable knowledge, the reality was often disappointing. Reports from members indicate that the content is largely motivational fluff, lacking in actionable, concrete advice for building a successful business or generating wealth. Many members found themselves questioning the value of what they were being taught. Instead of receiving comprehensive guides on e-commerce or investments, they were met with generic platitudes and the same recycled motivational rhetoric. Luke's ventures into the crypto world have been just as tumultuous. Back in 2021, he launched an NFT project called Divine Anarchy, which ended in disaster. Due to a mistake by a poorly chosen developer, users were charged gas fees even after the minting process had ended, leading to the loss of more than $2 million. While not an outright scam, the debacle exposed Luke's inexperience and poor judgment, hardly the characteristics of someone who presents themselves as an expert in the field. The project, which promised community-driven governance and a revolutionary approach to NFTs, ended up as a cautionary tale of how things can go wrong when hype outpaces substance. The aftermath left many of his followers disillusioned, with some questioning if Luke really had the expertise he so confidently claimed. Luke has also been a frequent guest on finance podcasts, using these appearances to grow his brand. However, not all went according to plan. On one such podcast, hosted by Beheza, Luke faced pushback for promoting psychedelics, telling millions that everyone should take mushrooms, including an 18-year-old co-host. When challenged on the dangers of such statements, Luke's response was that outrageous claims help his content go viral, and clarifying those claims simply wasn't his priority. This cavalier attitude toward the truth raises serious concerns. While sensationalism might help boost his profile, it also demonstrates a lack of responsibility for the potential impact on his audience, many of whom may be young and impressionable. Despite all this, Luke continues to preach the importance of seeking the truth while crafting a public persona that hides many truths of his own. The layers of secrecy, intimidation, and misinformation raise an essential question: just how deep does this web of lies go? One of the most telling examples of Luke's hidden truths lies in his insistence on maintaining a narrative of complete independence and self-made success. While Luke often speaks about the hardships he endured, including living out of his car and doing menial jobs, the reality seems to be far less dire. Sources indicate that his transition into the United States was cushioned by the support of family members already established in the country. These family connections provided a safety net that Luke conveniently leaves out of his story, allowing him to craft a narrative that appeals to the bootstrap mentality, a young immigrant who made it against all odds. Luke's brother Nate plays a significant role in this story as well. Nate's attempts at an acting and modeling career in the United States were a well-documented, albeit unsuccessful, chapter of his life. However, attempts have been made to erase these efforts from the public domain. An interview featuring Nate under his real name, which should have been a harmless relic of the past, instead became the focal point of a controversy involving threats and harassment. Luke's response was not to embrace his brother's past, but to intimidate the interviewer into removing the content, revealing the lengths to which he is willing to go to maintain the illusion of a carefully managed narrative. The same obsession with control also characterizes Luke's entrepreneurial activities. Capital Club, which comes on a glittering, community-based wrapper for generating wealth. The Ambassador Program, by rewarding members for recruiting other people, replicates the approaches toward recruitment typical of multi-level marketing schemes business, which is designed to enrich only the top bunch at everybody else's expense. Not a coincidence is the similarity to people like Andrew Tate, both who used similar tactics to buy into the dreams of young men who yearned for economic freedom. The promise of riches and success sounds pretty alluring, however, for most, the reality is dramatically different. For every person who claims to have profited from such programs, hundreds of others leave with nothing but a lighter wallet and a slight feeling of betrayal. Even within the crypto space, Luke's missteps are hard to ignore. The Divine Anarchy NFT project was meant to be a flagship example of his innovation and understanding of the crypto landscape. Instead, it served as an indictment of his lack of expertise. The project's failure was not due to bad luck, but rather a fundamental misunderstanding of the technology and poor management. The $2 million lost was not just money, it represented the trust and hopes of his community, many of whom believed they were part of something revolutionary. Luke's refusal to take responsibility for the debacle only added to the growing sense of disillusionment among his followers. Luke's public persona, built largely through podcast appearances and social media, also began to show cracks. His appearance on Bahiz's podcast is a prime example of his inability to handle genuine scrutiny. When confronted with the irresponsibility of advocating for widespread psychedelic use, especially to a young audience, Luke deflected rather than addressing the concern seriously. He admitted that he knew such claims would go viral and seemed more interested in the reach and impact of his words than the potential consequences. This reveals a fundamental contradiction in his message: a man who claims to be seeking truth, yet knowingly spreads misinformation for personal gain. Capital Club itself is another testament to Luke's ability to sell a dream without delivering substance. The price drop from $15,000 to $369 a year seems like a generous move, an attempt to make the club accessible to more people. In reality, it aligns more with a strategy to cast a wider net, attracting as many paying members as possible, even if the value provided does not justify the cost. The content within Capital Club, as reported by members, is a mix of motivational speeches and vague advice, with little in the way of practical, actionable steps. For many, it became clear that they were not paying for mentorship, but rather for access to a community that thrived on the illusion of success. Luke's use of controversy as a branding tool is also evident in his promotion of psychedelics. Statements like "everyone should take mushrooms" are not just irresponsible, they are dangerous. These kinds of sweeping generalizations, made without context or caution, put vulnerable individuals at risk. Luke's justification, that sensational claims drive virality, underscores a deeper problem: the prioritization of personal brand growth over the well-being of his audience. His cavalier attitude toward the influence he wields is alarming, particularly when considering the young demographic that makes up a large portion of his following. Despite all these warning signals, Luke's influence continues to grow. His followers see an attractive leader, one who gives voice to opposition to the normal orders from which many feel trapped. He talks about financial freedom, release from the normal routine involving working hours in a 9-to-5 system, and achieving success on their own terms. The messages really resonate deeply, especially among youths looking for something different. However, the truth underlying Luke's success is much more complex and much less flashy than he makes it out to be. Deception at the layers of keeping who he is secret, but then keeping unsavory portions of his past, also reveal an individual more concerned with maintaining an image rather than becoming the role model he purports to believe in. Ultimately, the Luke Belmar narrative crosses the line of being simply a character to then be a poignant comment on the perils of influencer culture dominating social media at present. That is the cautionary tale, showing how easily narratives can be distorted and how truth can become hidden, while the pursuit of virality tends to run contrary to principles of integrity. Maybe Luke may inspire millions through motivational literature, but at what cost? Shaky ground is the legacy he built. The only question left is, what else is Luke hiding? What you think? Comment below. I want to know your opinion. And if this video opened your eyes, make sure you hit the like button, and also don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more of these kinds of videos.